Hello, Camaro fans. Today I wanted to discuss a little topic that I get asked quite frequently, whether DMs, comments, whatever. Is well, it's kind of a two-part question. So one is my car worth anything, and two, which car do you think or cars do you think will be worth 69 ZL1, 69 Copo Camaro dollars in the future? Now, setting aside any kind of magic ball that I don't have, what's gonna, how the industry, how the hobby, how motorsports is gonna play out in the future, you never know. Um, all things being equal, I do have an opinion. I personally believe that one of the bigger high dollar car in the future would be something along the lines of a third gen. I think you're in the I think you're in a good market if you own or have the ability to purchase now a third gen, a good well optioned Iroc-Z. I think for obvious reasons, that's when you think third gen. People even call third gen Camaros an Iroc-Z. It could be a base RS, it could be a base sport coupe, whatever. I promise you, at least one person is going to walk up to you and call it an Iroc-Z, even if it's not. So that's the one that sticks out in everybody's head. A bright red or a bright yellow or a bright blue Iroc-Z is what comes to mind for a lot of people when they think third gen Camaro, 80s Camaro. So I think you're in a good market if you have a very well put together Iroc-Z, and by put together I mean restored, original. You know, it's upkeep. It's not a rust bucket or something for obvious reasons. The next one is a little more obscure, and it's kind of a two-parted question or two-parted answer. And I think we've seen this play out a couple of times already in the high-profile auctions, which y'all take that stuff with a grain of salt. It's your third gen Camaro is not worth $50,000 just because somebody paid $47,000 for a black one of three optioned that way 91 1LE cars. It's just not the way it works. But if you have a 88 or 89, technically, I guess, I think they built like 11 cars and 88 at the very end, but technically they didn't really start building them until 89 or whatever. If you have a third gen 1LE, I think that's a good bet. I think people like myself that are a little more in depth on which car got you the really good stuff of the era, you'll know that a 1LE was one of those cars. The other half of that 1LE equation would be getting your hands on an R7U Players Challenge car, which is very hard to do, and when you do have the option, they're normally not very cheap, but as a factory prepped road racing car, especially the ones that have you can verify pedigree, which, being an R7U, they pretty much all have pedigrees. Any kind of documentation to verify that your R7U was actually lapping around Mosport back in the day is good stuff to have. And third, I would say another very high-profile third gen that's probably going to command good dollars in the future, or currently does command good dollars in the future, would be a Z03, which is the 25th package. I don't think, not that I don't think, there's not a lot special about a 25th anniversary. However, kind of like the earlier example of the, flamboyantly colored Iroc-Zs. And just so we're clear, that's not to say that like a white Iroc-Z isn't going to be sought after. Just saying, that's what people think of. Not unlike the flamboyantly colored Iroc-Z, a 25th anniversary package car is something a lot of people think of when they think third gen Camaro. They remember the stripes. They remember the high rise spoiler. I guess it wasn't the only year it was available. It's just that in combination with the certain colors and the certain color stripes that you could only get them a certain way. It's a car that a lot of people will think of when they think third gen Camaro. So I think if you have any of those three cars, you're very well set up. That being said, most people know that I'm more of a fan of buying and enjoying the car that you have as opposed to setting it aside and waiting to capitalize on the dollar figure later. One, because you don't know if that's going to play out, but two, especially in the 1LE and the R7U 1LE stuff, man, those cars were built for a purpose, and that purpose was for them to be driven very hard on a racetrack. Now that's not to say that everybody has to take it out to a racetrack, but taking it out and about, driving it, finding a twisty road, maybe going to a local autocross or maybe going to a local track day or something with it is, I think would be doing yourself a very good service and enjoying the car at its capability and for the reason it was built for. But everybody has their own prerogative. If you're the person that's gonna zip it up into a Ziploc bag and hold on to it for 20 years and hope that Barrett Jackson is still around in 20 years, more power to you. Because at the end of the day, that's only going to drive the value of our hobby up. So more power to you if that's your thing. So anyway, short conclusion is, for the questions that I get the most, being Camaro historian person, is what's the next big thing to pop? And me personally, I have no data to back this up whatsoever, other than the general curiosity and the general interest that I see going on right now, is that I think those three cars, a well-optioned Iroc-Z, a 1LE / R7U car, and a Z03 package car, I think is going to be the three cars that are going to command the most money. If I were picking in order, I would have to say obviously that the 1LE / R7U cars are going to command the most dollar figures. They have a background in motorsports, which traditionally motorsport-driven cars, do tend to command a higher price tag. And then I would say the well-optioned Iroc-Zs in particular colors and particular combinations are going to be another very sought-after car. And then thirdly, I would say a Z03 would be a third in line on that list. So again, those are my opinions. I don't have any evidence to back any of that up. That's just what I think. So if you have any other opinions, drop a line and let's talk about it. Have a good one.